What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Troll Bro Dude. And as slop season winds down, we're still going to keep the slop going over here. We're shifting from the playback streams back to our regular YouTube streams for the Patreon subscribers. Sign up for the You Know Ball Patreon if you have not already, especially for slop season. It is a lot of fun. We have a ton of extra content up on there right now. Also, use the promo code SLOP, that's S-L-O-P, to get a $100 deposit match on Underdog. You can go on there and do the pick'em for your favorite players' NFL stats right now for the upcoming season. Higher or lower on Jalen Hurts, higher or lower on A.J. Brown's yards. You can do all of that right now on Underdog Fantasy. So use the promo code SLOP. It's a $100 deposit match, and it supports the program, keeps things going over here. So if you have not already, please do that. The link is in the description for that as well. Speaking of, we have our own slop drama going on with the Philadelphia 76ers, with the Miami Heat, with the Clippers a little bit kind of involved in a periphery view right now. So, Sam, first off, we'll talk about Daryl Morey. We'll talk about the Sixers offseason and the fact that it's been incredibly unrewarding so far, I would say. Has done one thing, signed Patrick Beverly, which I do want to talk about. Let's talk about the Beverly stuff up top because he's the GOAT. I love Patrick Beverly. I wanted Patrick Beverly on the Sixers for 5 years. Mostly because I want to I wanted to have someone who was, a dog, Philly guy, fucking gotten annoyed opponents. Basically like our own kind of middle-class version of Marcus Smart. And now they got him, and it's like in the middle of losing 4 rotation players from last year. And then in addition to, 3 real rotation players. And then in addition to that, him coming off of probably the worst season of his career, and he's 35 years old. So as much as I love Patrick Beverly, not the most exciting signing, I have to say. It's certainly not as exciting as your Celtics signing multiple Parm guys in O'Shea Brissett and Delano Banton.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't all be so lucky as to have Parm directly working for our front office. I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to reveal that Brad Stevens directly employs Parm. But this is just the reach of YKB. Now is Parm sending us the worst of his guys to sabotage the Celtics? Perhaps. We will find out. If he's.
Well, let me ask you, would you rather have Delano Banton or Patrick Beverly for next year?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Neither of them are going to play in the playoffs.
Sure.
Would play for the Celtics in the playoffs. Patrick Beverly will probably play for Nick Nurse in the 76ers playoffs in their new Get 'em boys identity.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
So, I think that, he is certainly a fit with, let's say, Nick Nurse's coaching style.
Sure.
But I do think I think both are fine signings. I mean, I think the thing that kind of stands out to me about this slop season is I even said it before we got into slop season. Sometimes when we expect a lot of slop, it's kind of boring, and it has been I don't want to say a boring slop season, but it's just been very chalk. You know what I'm saying? Even probably the most surprising thing was Fred VanVleet's contract or Jeremy Grant's contract. And
sure.
When you take a step back and consider everything, those weren't even really that bad. You know what I'm saying? I don't think either of those are going to end up being Evan Turner contracts or Timothy Mozgov contracts.
We need to bring back dumb GMs. I think that, and I talked about the Fred VanVleet, and we'll talk about our favorite and least favorite signings a little bit later. We talked you can contextualize pretty much every signing that's been made this offseason.
Yeah.
And I can't really get excited about the Sixers offseason, but also there hasn't been a guy that's signed for the MLE that I'm man, I really wish the Sixers got him.
Yeah.
Like
No,
most of the MLE guys are kind of underwhelming too. Like, I don't know, like the best guy that signed so far for the MLE was like Gabe Vincent, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably the best player. I think it's kind of just a bad free agency class. I'm more pissed about the fact that the Sixers have just done nothing at all. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm more pissed about the fact that they've used their veterans minimum, which fine. For a veterans minimum signing, I think it's fine. I actually, of all the guys that have signed for veterans minimum deals that would fit on the Sixers, I think the only guys that I would like better are some of the Suns guys they got for the veterans minimum, because I liked a few of their guys like Yuta Watanabe.
Yeah.
And then also Malik Beasley signing with the Bucks, which I think is a steal for him on the veterans minimum, even if he isn't really a playoff guy.
Yeah.
So, but like when you're these teams that don't really have a lot to work with, and like I try to give the Sixers the benefit of the doubt, but the reason why I think Sixers fans are so frustrated with Daryl Morey right now is because it's the second time in 3 off seasons where he has just held the team's ability to acquire players kind of hostage because he's so focused on one move. Yeah. And the one move is the Harden move. And 2 years ago was the Ben Simmons move. And now it's getting a little bit more complicated with this Damian Lillard wrinkle that has been thrown into everything, which is Dame asking for a trade. I don't know what you made of Windhorse. I talked about this a little bit last night on my Summer League stream.
Yeah.
I just don't buy that. I personally said I thought that the leak of that Windhorse said regarding Tyrese Maxey being like the most prized possession in a Damian Lillard trade was probably a leak from Clutch, is my guess.
Yeah.
Because one, it's Windhorse. Windhorse is close to Clutch. Like he gets a lot of information from them. Yeah. And then two, the Sixers famously did not extend Tyrese Maxey the other day when all these other guys, Desmond Bane, Tyrese Halliburton, all the guys from the 2020 class are getting their max extensions. And while we expected Maxey to get extended this summer, the Sixers have basically said, we're going to wait until next summer to extend him because we want to keep a low cap hold so that we can have more cap space next summer, which I also kind of think is bullshit and I don't buy. I kind of think that they are open to the idea of trading him if a Damian Lillard could come back to Philly. Yeah. And maybe when Dame signs there, they end up coming to a deal and figuring that out. But I think that leak came from Clutch because Clutch probably is like, we want to get Maxey paid. If he gets traded to Portland, he's getting a contract extension in a few months. And hey, how would they know? Jeremy Grant's their client.
Yeah.
He just got a massive bag from them. Yeah. So that was my thought on that.
I'm really sympathetic. I can't imagine what it's like to have your second or third best player sort of not be extended probably because of Dame stuff. That would be just real weird and be very strange to kind of have hanging over your organization.
I can't imagine.
I think that with the Dame stuff, this all just goes back to Daryl, right? And just like the uncomfiness. I will say the difference between like the Harden situation and the Ben Simmons situation is this is a guy Daryl like legitimately has a relationship with. So like, I would not be surprised if like Daryl's, because some of the more recent information is that Daryl like wants to just, help Harden. I mean, what are the chances that Daryl's supposed excuse for not talking to James about this, that he was scared of tampering? Did you buy that at all?
Bullshit. That's bullshit. Yeah. I mean, that was, I think what happened was that Daryl was trying to hold off as long as possible, trying to get something from ownership to get a deal done with Harden. I think he probably was kicking this can down the road with Harden so that he could try to secure some sort of extension and commitment from ownership. And ownership is just like, we're not paying James Harden. And a picture came out from Michael Rubin's white party last night with Josh Harris and James Harden buddied up. Shout out to Pete from the Ball Discord who pointed that out. And like, I think that the Sixers ownership group is like, look, you traded for Harden. You got your guy, and we still lost in the second round back-to-back years. Like, we're not making a huge money long-term commitment to a guy who is essentially not taking us to the next level in the same way that you kind of told us he would when you traded Ben Simmons for him. So we don't want to commit long-term to this guy who's in his 30s. It looks like his body could potentially be breaking down. He shot like 40% at the rim after his injury this year. Yeah. And they're probably afraid to commit to a guy who has had the floor fall out on him so many times in the playoffs, despite the fact that he had a few really good games in the playoffs that kind of carried the Sixers at times. It feels as though they're just afraid to make that commitment. And Marty Teller actually had an idea that I thought was interesting. And he basically said to me, like, do you think that Morey could be stringing this along because he knows that once Dame gets traded, that the teams that are also interested in Dame, like the Clippers, and let's say Dame gets traded somewhere other that we're not expecting, the Heat, those kind of teams that are interested in Dame right now might be willing to pay a little bit more for Harden after Dame gets traded.
Yeah, I mean, that I feel like that's probably just objectively true.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I mean, I guess my thing there is like, this is like a very like intertwined thing. Well, first of all, Josh Harris is Bill's new Commanders owner, Josh Harris. I'm sure he's very concerned about money all of a sudden. Anyway, I guess my kind of thinking on this is that Daryl, I feel like Daryl, all of this just seems like Daryl being caught a little flat-footed, and I just don't buy that really. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like he was like very aware of this. The idea of Daryl Morey being surprised by anything that happened here, I don't buy that. And if it's true, that's like genuinely alarming. Like,
that would be worse for the Sixers than him. And he said, if Harden leaves, we have to get creative. This is where the creativity comes into play. And if you ask me today, if Maxey was, first off, would you put Maxey on the table? The Sixers would put Maxey. My opinion on it doesn't really matter. The Sixers would put Maxey on the table if Damian Lillard was available to come back.
Yes.
The Daryl Morey knows he's only got 2 years left on his contract. He knows the pressure of this situation. He knows Joel could ask out this offseason. He knows Joel could ask out a year from now. He knows what could happen if he doesn't make a move to kind of make this team championship contenders. And if he had if there was a sliver of a chance that Dame could come to Philly, Maxey would be on the table. I don't buy the Windhorst thing for multiple. What is Windhorst doing? Because I don't buy it. What is Windhorst up to?
What is Windhorst doing?
What is Windhorst cooking? I don't buy it.
He's also a Heat guy, by the way. So
sure.
That's kind of interesting because I don't know what the play of like pumping Maxey's value there is, unless the Heat don't think they can actually get Damian Lillard,
and they're trying to cover their ass here, basically being like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
oh well, they want Maxey. What can we do?" Because if you are the Heat, I think Dame to the Heat is inevitable.
Really? Okay.
I think it's if you look at now, look, sometimes sports books aren't quite as accurate with this shit as they are with other stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look at the odds, it's negative 300 for Dame, and then the second best team is at like plus 500 odds.
The difference is that I think Dame's age and the length of his contract are kind of unique in this type of situation now. Because normally when a guy demands a trade like this and he's this good, the team is like, no, fuck you. You're under contract.
That's what they did with Kevin Durant last year, and then they waited almost a full year to trade him.
Yeah, like no, we're keeping you because that team is usually pretty good. Also, Damian Lillard is one of the lowest impact superstars we have, so his team is bad. So I mean, I think that what are they? I just don't necessarily think that Dame gets to pick this. I know it's like Zach Lowe and all these people say, oh, like superstar This is a superstar thing. Like, this is Mr. Portland. Like, they're going to take care of him. Are they? Or are they going to, like, do what's best for their franchise?
Is it just because it's the Heat that I'm turning into a boomer about this?
Yeah.
I think it might be the fact that it is the Heat that I just want to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
This, like, I've seen people say this on Twitter, and I've seen people say this about trade stuff before.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, you're siding with the corporation. You're siding with the ownership.
You can just say Portland fans.
No. This isn't. No, I've seen Portland fans be like, this is bullshit. We want a good return for the best player that we've had for the last 20 years. Like, of course we do. Like, we don't want to let him walk for nothing. Like, we need to get something out of this too. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I think is bullshit about this, and someone said this to me during the Ben Simmons saga. They said it to me during the Kevin Durant saga. And they basically said to me that these stars, that when they reach a certain level, like Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, that like top 15 player in the NBA, they're more like stockholders, shareholders, than they are like regular employees. Because they're in the front office making decisions on where their coworkers are going to end up. They are part of who they sign, who they trade, all of that. They have at least somewhat of a say. I don't think that these moves are being made unless there is some sort of approval from Damian Lillard. And everything we know is that Damian Lillard was involved in getting Jeremy Grant there, in trading CJ McCollum 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. Like, I don't think that Damian Lillard is just like any other laborer, is what I'm trying to say here. He's making $50 million a year, and he's in there with the front office making decisions up until this point. So it was also his choice last year to secure that extra two years on his contract where he'll make $60 million at 36 years old. Like this whole, like, we need to accommodate him to an extent. I understand that for sure, because Dame's been good to Portland and to the Trailblazers. But at the same time, you chose to take the extension. You've been involved in a lot of these moves that we've made as well. Yeah. And, like, we're choosing to go in a different direction, and we need to maximize the return and look out what's best for me. If I were a Blazers fan, I would be kind of pissed that people are like, oh, no, we should just trade him wherever and just get him there. And now keep in mind, if this were the Sixers and not the Heat, I would probably be like, yeah, what? No, we're not trading Caleb Martin. Come on. But I think that I think all of this is a ruse just to maximize the return on to maximize the return from the Miami Heat. Like, you got to put everything on the table, dude, because you don't have much. So you got to put all the picks on the table. You got to put all the prospects, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic.
But I think that also involves, what makes me think that it's not going to be the Miami Heat is because Tyler Hero is on the table. And that he's a negative asset. So him being on the table means you're not serious. Like to me, I don't know. Because trying to get Tyler Hero involved means that you're not serious about maximizing the value in the Dame trade. Like, you think you can squeeze this lemon out as a part of this move, because you have Duncan Robinson and you have Kyle Lowry. You do not need Tyler Hero's salary to make this work. You do need Tyler Hero's salary to go somewhere if you want this core to stay together for more than 2 years, right? Because the salary is like obnoxious at that point, and you're sending out every other player who is not a G leaguer on your roster besides like the top, three other guys on the roster. But like, I don't think we're there yet. The fact that I'm seeing three-way trades where Brooklyn gets Tyler Hero for some reason and Ben Simmons goes to Portland, that makes me think that the Heat don't feel that much urgency yet, because they're still trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Like sorry, Tyler Hero's staying on the Miami Heat as a shitty player if you if you want this to happen. At least that's the way I see it. Maybe I am just totally wrong about how Tyler Hero is viewed in the NBA, but I think he's one of the worst contracts in the NBA. The Jordan Poole thing, where Jordan Poole's value, I think it's pretty similar to that. And, I thought that the Warriors did very well to basically trade him for an expiring.
So if you are Portland, then you essentially are trying to say you would rather have Kyle Lowry's expiring contract.
Absolutely. Not a question at all. Tyler Hero's going to play in front of Simons. He's going to clutter up the front court with Scoot in terms of ball handling.
Sharp too.
Sharp. All of those guys. Why on earth would I ever want Tyler Hero? And I think that's why they're trying to find a third team for him. And if the Brooklyn Nets are genuinely considering putting Tyler Hero, trading Ben Simmons for Tyler Hero is a worse contract than Ben Simmons, I think. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't care that Ben Simmons doesn't play.
Well, 4 years. It's 4 years versus 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think that from what I understand, I think the original idea was we'll take Tyler Hero's contract, but also we're giving you Ben Simmons and we're not giving any picks. Is what the pitch was for Brooklyn. In fact, we want to take picks to take on the Tyler Hero contract. So I think Brooklyn is viewing it as more of we get off the Ben Simmons contract and we get a pick from Miami or something. Yeah. And at that point, if you're Portland, you go, okay, so we're taking on Ben Simmons' shitty contract and we're losing a pick in the process. Once again, like I said, if you're in this situation as Portland and you're in the middle of a rebuild and Tyler Hero's redundant, I think that what all this comes down to for me is that if Maxey is involved from Philly's perspective, or Hero is involved from Miami's perspective, there needs to be another team involved that probably isn't Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That probably is, and as people in the YKB Discord have pointed out, who's the one guy you think in the NBA that would take a flyer on Tyler Hero in a front office right now? On that contract.
I don't know. I mean, I would say winger, but they already have Jordan Poole.
So like, that's exactly what I said. Yeah. The Wizards might be like, sure, we'll take him for a first round pick, but now they have Poole and it's completely redundant. Then you have two contracts like that whatever. Yeah. Then you're like muddying up your books too much.
Right.
The guy that I thought was interesting that people said that Celtics fans said in the YKB Discord was Danny Ainge. And they said Utah has some salaries they can move around. It would basically the thing is that the only issue with that, as I looked at their roster today, is like they already have Jordan Clarkson, they already have Colin Sexton, they already have Keontae George, they already have Bryce Sensabaugh. Like you're getting to the point where your contracts are too muddied, or too kind of like overlapping with the prospects you have in the same way that Portland would be.
Do they have front office guys who have like relationships with, because Danny and Pat, the lead decision makers, hate each other.
Sure.
So I maybe that could be worked out, if something else, but I know Danny and Pat fucking hate each other.
Good point.
And they are like the old men in the room. But Danny's not doing Pat a solid. He's like, he's also like a fucking bastard when it comes to these trades. He's gonna even if it does benefit the Jazz and he thinks it benefits the Jazz, he's doing the Masai thing, which prior to Masai was known as the Danny Ainge thing, where you demand a ridiculous price. So
it's like the same three guys: Daryl Morey, Danny Ainge, and Masai.
Masai, yeah.
I have a question for you. Did the Rockets and Celtics ever make a trade when Morey and Ainge were running the teams? Like a real trade?
I
can't remember.
There was the Tice trade for, I can't remember who it was, for Schroeder or something.
But that was Stone. That was Morey.
That was Raphael Stone. Morey was gone. Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's like the only time I can remember a Rockets Celtics. It's usually they trade with the Grizzlies a lot.
Sure.
They trade with they've traded with the Spurs a few times now under like the Brad Stevens administration more. But yeah, it was mostly the Grizzlies and the Clippers, I feel like, were like the partners they did business with a lot. So
Spurs Thunder too. Oh,
Thunder
that's more
too.
Recent. Yeah. Thunder.
The Thunder under Brad Stevens. So like I don't know. I think this Dame thing, I think a team that's not the Miami Heat is going to get him. I don't think my Boston Celtics make a lot of sense, even if they're dangling Jaylen Brown. That would need to be a 3-team trade with like Houston, and then like what? Does like Portland want Şengün? Like, is that fucking happening? Like, no.
The trade that a Celtics fan in the Discord came up with yesterday was The Rockets send, it was Jabari.
Yeah, it'd have to be Jabari. It's the only other non-guard prospect they have that's worth anything. Yeah.
Jabari, Kevin Porter Jr.'s contract, Jayshawn Tate's contract, and then picks.
Yeah.
And then you get picks from Boston and from Houston, and Houston owns Brooklyn's picks.
And Boston is getting, it's probably not as bad as the Miami thing because Jason Tatum, we are starting to get, it's not bad yet, but we are starting to get into what are the Celtics going to look like in 3 years? Sure. So if you get picks way out, it's not as bad as some of these other teams that are young and set up forever, but it's also not great picks. You're not seeing great value on those picks in the next 2 or 3
just
years.
The Heat, the Celtics are relatively always competitive. And all right, I just want to point out here that I do think it's getting a little bit lost, and I think that and by the way, just want to point this out. Kevin Durant is another level of player than Damian Lillard when we're talking about what we talked about last offseason.
Yeah.
And even on Slopfest, I was like, the Nets got a lot for Kevin Durant. I was like, look, I understand why Phoenix made the trade, but they got really good players and really good picks. Yeah. It's not like they got nothing for Kevin Durant, despite the fact that there was not a bidding war. And the reason I say that it is when it comes to these star packages, I do think that there are certain teams like Miami and Philly that are in such desperate situations that they probably should do it. I think teams like Boston and other teams around the league can afford to be a little bit more patient because their stars are younger. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of success already. And look, maybe that is the push. I actually kind of would like the Damian Lillard trade more for you guys if you didn't make the Porzingis trade and if you still had Marcus Smart in the backcourt with him.
Absolutely, yep.
But the fact that I think Philly and Miami are the two most likely still because the situation, unless the Clippers are willing to trade Paul George to another team, because Paul George doesn't make sense for Portland, which I don't think they're gonna do. But unless that is the case, the reason I just and Dame is making even more money than KD, as someone points out, and at a later age he's going to make a lot of money. But more importantly here, when we're comparing the KD thing, is Damian Lillard's turning 33 soon, and if you're in Joel Embiid's 30 and might request a trade in a year, or you're in Jimmy Butler's turning 34 in a few months, and this is our last shot with that window, then it's a little bit different than the rest of the league, who large majority of them don't really have the same kind of pressure that Miami and Philly have with their window shrinking and kind of their lack of pathways to get to the point where they can get honestly a guy who can make a difference for your championship equity like Dame Lillard can. The best move that these teams, Miami or Philly, could make if they miss out on Dame is Zach LaVine. And I like Zach LaVine. He's not Damian Lillard. And in a way, I think that if you could get him for less, if you're Miami, that would be interesting to me. But at the end of the day, Dame wants to go to Miami. They still are the betting favorite. Chris Haynes is getting to the point where it's kind of weird how much he's only Miami, and Portland would be looked at as they would be scarred if they don't trade if they don't trade. I'm they don't get free agency or trade stars anyway.
Anyway, yeah. What does it fucking matter?
No one cares.
No. By the way, free agency might be dead. This is what Simmons was going on about and complaining about is it's funny that Simmons is complaining about this because this is the owners are victims in this because this is what the fucking owners wanted. This is the entire point of this CBA is to keep guys re-signing with their own teams. So the teams have control over the situation. I'm sorry it's icky that these guys forced their way out, but you were the ones who were pissing your fucking pants about guys leaving in free agency and you get nothing. So I don't know. Simmons was calling it transfer portal and treating it like it's some sort of disgusting, I don't know, blight on the sport or something like that. Yeah. And it's well, no, this is what we have now instead of regular free agency because you put too much money. You wanted this was an owner-driven thing where they were sick of getting nothing for these guys when they were unhappy. So. Sure. You say, okay, now you've got to take the money to stay, and it's like, okay, well.
And also, as we know, and as everyone in the business knows, including Zach Lowe and Bill Simmons, it's good for business when these trades happen. Like
absolutely.
this is the biggest time of the year for NBA news. People care more about this than they care about the NBA finals. Like that is the reality of the situation. And like, if that's part of the bit, it's always going to happen. Like, it's just going to happen forever, dude. Like that's just kind of the reality of this situation.
And by the way, because what you just said is true, and this also drives me insane that like people care more about this than the finals, the news in the finals. Shut the fuck up and come off your high horse if you're someone whose like sensibilities are like hurt by that idea. The NBA Finals applies to 2 teams in the NBA. NBA free agency applies to all 30. It's not that fucking hard. Like that is all this is. You know, it is not that there are fans or people don't care about the beautiful game or whatever. It's people are way less invested. I watch the finals and I love watching the Miami Heat eat shit, but I ultimately don't care that much. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool that Nikola Jokic won. That's like a fun little story. I care about my Boston Celtics. Like, I'm sorry.
I have my aunt who has not watched basketball and literally just got attached to the Sixers in the last year and a half, 2 years, texted me, they're not going to trade Maxey, are they?
Right. Like this is what people care about. Like it's your guys. This is stuff that applies to you and your team and your guys. Like you personally as a fan, you know. What doesn't matter is Aaron Gordon, should he be finals MVP? No one gives a shit, Jack Lowe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you that hurts your feelings that nobody cares that Denver won the title. And we do care a little bit, but it's, you know, it's definitely I care more about Gabe Vincent signing with the Lakers. I'm sorry, as sad as that is.
No, I think it rules. Actually, I think the
cool.
fact that he's gone is great.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Good job, LA Lakers.
Don't worry, I watched the Miami Heat summer league team, and they'll just a new 40% playoff 3-point shooter will spawn from the earth. Like it will come through the court. Peterson was his name, I believe. He was an undrafted free agent that Chuck and Maxwell were talking up, and I was like, great. I'm sure this guy's going to be awesome for them. He signed a 2-way with them. So
we will see. He will definitely be on the team because they have like 6 players under contract.
So that's the thing. If you're Portland, first off, this is my ideal. If I'm just doing let's take out, because it gets too complicated if you involve Brooklyn and Tyler Hero and all this shit. It becomes way, way, way too complicated. Yeah. If that is the case. If I'm just doing a 1-for-1 trade with the Miami Heat, this is what I want back. Kyle Lowry's expiring, so I can waive him and just get him, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Stretch him or whatever you need to do. Yeah.
I wouldn't even stretch him. I would just do what Oklahoma City does and just buy him out, because you're not winning next year anyway, so who cares?
Well,
like,
where are they on the? I say that because it would depend on where they are on the tax line. You know, if you do need to get 50,
I don't even think they're going to be close. Okay. Well, and also this is another part I'm going to bring into my trade here, and I don't even know if the money works, but this is the general idea, the framework that I want back. I want Kyle Lowry's expiring contract, and maybe I hold on to the Kyle Lowry and tell him to sit at home until the deadline and just say, hey, we'll find a trade partner for you at the deadline, and we'll try to maybe trade that for some longer money and get back some picks or young players that we like the Wizards have been doing, maybe something like that. But I'm taking Kyle Lowry's salary to help juice that. I'm considering taking Duncan Robinson. This is why. I think Duncan Robinson on a rebuilding team can have some real value.
Yeah. No, he's fine. He's not as toxic as he was like last year. Yeah. Because he's back. Like now he's put together 2 different good shooting playoff performances. He's going to have value. Even if, So
and more importantly, like if I'm not in the playoffs, that's where his defense has struggled before. Where like you have to take him off the court because of his defense, and it's like, well, I'm rebuilding. I just want to have floor spaces around my young guys that can play the 2, can play the 3, can come in, can kind of give us some minutes off the bench, whatever. I'm fine taking the Duncan Robinson contract. It's only got, I think it has 3 years left, if I remember correctly, and maybe in a year or 2 I can flip it to a team that really wants him if he kind of rehabs even more of his value here. So I'm taking Lowry, Robinson. I want Caleb Martin. I want Jaime Jaquez. I want Nikola Jovic. Those 5 guys. Those are the 5 guys I want. And then I want every pick you can send, and you're also taking Nurkic.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. And that's got to be the package.
Yeah.
In my mind's eye. No Tyler Hero. No getting cute about any of that stuff. That is because that's the maximum. No. Dame really wants to play with Caleb Martin, so we've
too fucking bad.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Sorry. We need wings. With that's the thing with Portland. And every time I try to figure out, first off, do I buy that they might value Tyrese Maxey because they're in a rebuild and they might not care about the players and the positional overlap? Sure. I buy that they might. I know Mike Schmitz has always been a big Tyrese Maxey guy. He loved him in the draft. Having said that, you're going to have to extend Tyrese Maxey, and to a rebuilding team that has Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and Scoot Henderson, who all play the 1 or the 2. And maybe my thought was the idea behind that is you hope that Sharpe gets a little bit bigger. And if he gets a little bit bigger, then you can play him at the 3. And then you have Scoot, Maxey, and Sharpe. And then I'm starting to be like, you'll have some defensive issues. But that's a nice little core of 1, 2, 3 guys for sure. Mm-hmm. You're a little bit undersized, obviously. Like, that would be an issue. But, like, if you really like those guys around Scoot, both, like, Maxey's an elite shooter, Sharpe's a pretty good shooter, like, secondary attacking guys on offense would be great to put around Scoot for his development, for sure.
Yeah.
I think in that scenario, they also have to trade Simons and then you're just getting like, why am I doing all this work to make this work when I'm the one that is trading the superstar?
Right.
Like it should be easy for me. Yes. It should be hard for everyone else that is involved in this deal. I should be the one just waiting for the return on this. So I'm pulling up the trade machine right now. Let's pull up the trade machine.
Yeah. I just checked it, by the way, and that works.
Okay, so that exact money works here.
That money works. Jaime, the only thing is Jaime Jaquez, can't be traded until July 31st, so they would agree to the deal. But yeah, that works.
Okay. So so we're sending Kyle Lowry to the Blazers.
And
that's what I'm looking for if I'm them. Dame goes to the Heat. Also Nurkic, I want to get off that money.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sure Nurkic will go to Miami and have a fucking rebound.
Yeah, he'll be fine. So he'll turn into a rotation player. So it's really not that bad. The other thing about this deal is because they have the Gary Payton trade exception, and they have the what's the other one they have? The Josh Hart trade exception. They can trade Caleb Martin and I think. And Jovic can both go into trade exceptions. So the Heat end up with like a 2.3 and a 2 something trade exception.
Yeah, and it's within $2 million, so that will work once Jaime Jaquez is actually signed under contract.
Yeah, that's the only thing is Jaime Jaquez is thing.
And then
that's not a real thing. So
if you're Portland, you can sell it to. I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at this right now, and I'm like, Portland's going to be kind of good for a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
Like you have a rookie Scoot, second-year Sharpe. You got Simons as your sixth man probably if they don't trade him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he starts and Sharpe is the sixth man. I'm not sure. But
Caleb Martin would be fucking nice for them.
Caleb Martin at the 3. Yeah. You'll figure out a center. Who cares about that? You could find a center literally wherever. They have Chris Murray, who's going to be a plug-and-play first-year guy. Jaime Jaquez, who's going to be a plug-and-play first-year guy. Nikola Jovic has looked good in Summer League. He's another kind of bigger – he's a 4. Jaime Jaquez is a 3 who can play the 4. Chris Murray's a 3. You kind of got some nice pieces, to be honest. You got enough to work with there where, you figure out the center thing. You pick up a center, or maybe you send Kyle Lowry somewhere else and you get Kelly Olynyk or something. Yeah. Then you got a pretty nice rebuilding team.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think honestly, if that's the package, and I know we're just saying, I would rather have that package and maybe leave the 2024 pick that Miami would be sending off to not get Tyler Hero back. Cause I don't care about that. That pick's going to be dog shit no matter what. Actually, I don't. As I say that, I'm thinking about it.
Regular season. Keep in mind, they just made the finals and had the 18th pick in the draft. They don't care about the regular season.
They don't care about the regular season, and their depth is going to be like way shittier. Like, sure. I know that we talk about them just summoning guys from everywhere, but like, and I mean, well, that's the other thing though. How much do we trust them? Because after CJ McCollum retweeted Nate Duncan about how this wasn't going to crush the middle class, we are seeing a lot of guys signing for the minimum that I think should probably be earning more than the minimum. So
teams are not using their MLEs right now.
Yes.
Dredd talked about this.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The MLE is just a lot of money. And it also, like, if you use the full, it hard caps you. So, you know, like, I don't know. Teams are kind of valuing flexibility. So, you know, Miami might be, you know, if everybody's getting squeezed, Miami actually might be able to get, I don't know who's still out there, but like, there are probably some guys who are like going to be useful for them that they will be able to get at the minimum. So
someone just brought up in the comments too, you could also do Caleb Martin going to a third team and getting more shit for, which I would consider if I'm Portland, because he's only got 1 year left on his deal before he has a player option on the last deal, I believe. So,
yeah, you know, I mean, I would think that if they do trade for Caleb Martin, even if they keep him, that's eventually the plan, is to flip him for something. You know, I might
Josh Green and a first round pick from the Dallas Mavericks or something.
Yeah, you might get more for him at the trade deadline.
You
know, once teams kind of see where they are, and if we're one guy away, you know, like that might be how I would play that if I were Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz. But I don't, you know, and you know, see how important he is to Scoot developing. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's, you know, if those lineups aren't really popping, and it's like, okay, well, we'll just move him over here, you know, because that's what it's. You know, your new priority is developing Scoot, like full stop. You know, it like doesn't matter at that point. So,
which is why I think they should go after a stretch big like Kelly Olynyk too. We talked. Chuck's talked about this, and he talks about how guys like Vooch and Olynyk and Miles Turner are really good for guys' development. Because guys like Scoot, who are like not great shooters when they come into the NBA, need as much space inside the arc to operate as possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that could be an interesting kind of wrinkle to it too. Can we get maybe a stretch big that we can find and throw in there, whether it's like a Zach Collins or a Miles Turner or whatever? But Zach Collins back to Portland. Oh yeah, Nikola Jovic. Just play Nikola Jovic and have the worst defense in the NBA. Okay, so. That is a good point. I've been thinking about this, and this is just a random thought, but like Caleb Martin being included in this trade reminded me of this. And I've been thinking about it all free agency, all the draft, every prospect that gets thrown around in a trade. Yeah. Man, it is so hard to find a good starting small forward. Like they don't exist anymore, dude.
No, they've all got some issue. Everybody's a power forward.
Yep.
You know, or you're
shooting
too thin. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or you're too thin to be like a real small forward. All those guys are like old now.
Yeah,
like Jay. I used to think of Jay Crowder as like the quintessential like small forward, and you know he just stopped being a small forward like 5 years ago and became a power forward because everyone wants to play small. You know, like who is even a good small forward? Like Paul George,
Mikal Bridges would probably be the best I could think of. And even he plays the two sometimes in some jumbo lineups.
Same with Paul George, you know, like it's this type of guy. Is it like Jaylen Brown, who also
Jason Tatum? I mean, I guess yeah.
So and I feel like those guys. I feel like Jason Tatum sometimes listed a power forward, and Jaylen Brown sometimes listed a shooting guard. I mean, it's like one of the most bizarre lineups in the NBA. It's very funny. We always talk about how Smart. He used to talk about how Smart was could play all five positions, and like the position he was worst at was small forward. He was like better at center and power forward than that. And looks like
it's like Sam talking about a dead relative.
Exactly. Yeah. Memphis. Memphis is going to play him at the 3 too, which is very funny. Which is absolutely.
I know he's the Dylan Brooks replacement, which is why, despite all the shit that Dylan Brooks gives people and all the stuff that he causes, his offensive issues, he's still got $20 million just for being a small forward who made all defense basically. Yeah. And also Houston had zero options and were being held over a barrel by his agent, to be completely fair. But
that is, man, I'm very interested to see I mean, this is going to be a real test for how good of a coach Ime Udoka is. Like,
it is
really, like, was that his roster, or we at least know it wasn't completely his roster because. But is Joe Mazzulla also a dumbass, or is
the
this
line that they need to get to for you to win games to be like, okay, Udoka's a good, like 33, 35?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd say like baseline competence. You know what I'm saying? They need to like not be getting like blown out by like 20 and have like real structure to like their thing. Like I don't really care about record if I'm them. I want to see like Jalen Green develop. If he's basically like what I would be looking for as a Houston fan. Jabari Smith
being
a 3-and-D guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that I think that's got to be the barometer for success in Houston. And those guys might be able to help. I don't know. Like Dylan Brooks will do theater kid stuff and teach them like fun dances and
The thing I really didn't like about Houston's offseason is that we know that Tari Eason was very good for a rookie last year. Yeah. And I feel like he's going to be one of the guys that loses minutes due to this. I feel like Cam Whitmore's not going to play right away, which I don't think is great for him. And I think that they had to sell at the lowest point of value on a lot of guys that could be NBA players, like Ty Washington and Usman Garuba and Kenyon Martin Jr. And like, look, maybe they would have traded those guys anyway, but like, did you know that they had to include picks to get off of Ty Washington and Usman Garuba?
I did see that, and I was
2 seconds. Yeah,
ooh, that's tough. And for Houston, seconds are like, was it their seconds? I'm trying to remember.
I think they were picked. I think they were others because they have a ton of seconds just from the trades that they've made over the last few years. I think they were from other teams, if I remember correctly. But like, you're doing this to sign Jeff Green.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Like that's the tough part about. Like, I don't even care as much about overpaying Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks as I care about. You're doing this to like bring in guys who are like, I don't know, veteran locker room guys, quote unquote, but like fairly washed, I would say. I mean, Jeff Green's 36 years old. Like,
I mean, the other thing, though, is they are in that kind of Celtics zone from like 3 years ago where it's like you only have 17 roster spots. Sure. Like, I mean, what are you going to do? You still have all of these picks coming. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going, it doesn't seem like you're close enough to trading them, at any point. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really hurt that bad when you like look at it from that perspective. I'm thinking of it as like the Celtics who like clearly, or, for example, the Sixers could really use some seconds, like that would be something that would really hurt. But I don't know. Like, I think Houston, I'm going to be very interested to see what Houston looks like. I think they're going to be bad, but like, what kind of bad I think is going to be like very interesting.
So Coey Jupes just brought this up in the comments talking about Dame. He said, just so we're clear, that is still one of the worst trade returns for a star ever.
I'm trying to think.
Of the more recent ones, he's probably right. Because think about every single recent star trade. They all have
Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving trade was not.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
But
Spencer
is Caleb Martin that? I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie sucks. I mean, Caleb, he's essentially filler. Like, is Spencer Dinwiddie? He is better, but is he that much better than Duncan Robinson? Like, and you are getting multiple young players back in a way.
Spencer Dinwiddie was pretty good for Dallas, but also I think it was just to make the money work. Really, like that was.
And like, look, Nikola Jovic is probably not that good, and who knows what Jaime Jaquez are, but those are young guys, which just did not get put in a Dallas trade. So it's not. I mean, now obviously there's a reason for that.
I was going to say the difference is Kyrie is Kyrie,
right?
And the second reason is that expiring contract. He had 6 months left on his deal, or not even like 4 months left. Like he was literally, if he doesn't get traded there, they lose him for nothing. So like. It was good just to get literally anything.
What I think probably the biggest equivalent, and it's really not even the same because again, this is expiring versus 3 years left being on Dame's deal, but maybe Anthony Davis with the Lakers is the closest parallel. He was obviously way younger, and he had less on his deal, but that was another situation where it was one team. What was the list,
but Anthony Davis got back a lot of good shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was a lot of
Brandon Ingram, Kyle.
It kind of killed the Lakers, to be honest.
Yeah,
like they won a title because of COVID. But they probably would have ruined their team if they didn't get extremely lucky with how that all shook out with playoff matchups in the bubble. Like
that team was good. Stop.
They were not good. They did the Miami Heat thing. They shot everyone on that team shot like 41%. Like
you're coping.
32% 3-point shooters. Rajon Rondo shot like 45% in the playoff. Anyway.
The Lakers got a crazy haul. They got Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, who at the time was Josh Hart, who's a really good role player. They got the 4th pick in the draft. And they could have used that on Darius Garland. He was available. He was the 5th pick.
What did they do?
They traded back because
Jackson Hayes.
In their defense, in defense of the Pelicans, once again, actually, if you go back and you listen, Russillo was like, they should just draft Darius Garland. They should just draft Darius Garland and like not even think about it. But in their defense, Garland missed a lot of that college season. And so you didn't get as much on him in college as you like. There wasn't a ton of tape, and the rest of that draft, as we've discussed over and over, was dog water. So they traded back and they got 2 cracks. They missed with Jackson Hayes. They mixed with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the 4th pick was DeAndre Hunter, who's kind of also a miss. I mean, like he's not good. So it once again just a dog water draft. But to have the 4th pick in the draft in any draft, like that was the last time a top 5 pick got traded.
I will say though, I remember Darius Garland being mocked there like a lot.
He did. You're correct.
DeAndre Hunter was a reach. Like
you're right. DeAndre was expected to go in the range that they traded back to, and that's why everyone was so confused. But that was the last time that teams. I should put it like this: teams were very low on that draft for a reason. Yeah. Everyone said it was a 3-player draft and maybe even a 2-player draft with Ja and Zion, which I've said before is always bullshit because there's usually 1 or 2 more guys you can find in the lottery or after that are really.
I remember Garland had like injury concerns too.
So he only played like 8 games in college, I think. Like he didn't play. He had injury concerns, but you had Garland. And then you had Minnesota, and Minnesota traded up. They traded Dario Saric in the 11th pick, and the Suns traded back to draft Cam Johnson, and everyone shit on them for drafting Cam Johnson. And Cam Johnson just got $100 million contract this weekend, which was traded for Kevin Durant.
Best player in that draft, or 5th.
He's like the 5th best player. Like he is like one of the top. I think the top 5 from that draft are Ja, Zion, Garland, Claxton, and Cam Johnson.
Yeah,
I think so.
Probably, There's
then you get into the Jordan Pooles, Tyler Heroes, those kind of guys, PJ Washington, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. So once again, before we move on fully from Dame, who's the wild card team that you think could? Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be the Celtics. I think the Celtics will reach an agreement with. Although, did you buy that report? I saw from 2 different people that Tatum's trying to recruit him.
I mean, I'm sure he is. Celtics. So this is what Celtics Matt thinks. I don't know, man. Like I would be surprised if the Celtics did this, but it just seems like a lot of change. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like for a team that has been, as bad as it's been, has been in the conference finals like 4 out of the last 5 years or whatever it is. Yeah, like 4 out of the last 6 years. I can't remember whatever the amount is. So I don't know. I just don't feel like they should have like that much agency. I don't really see Utah.
I have 1 sleeper team.
Clippers don't have enough. Yeah, I mean, I just like it would need to be like a team like the Raptors, but Masai is not going to do that.
Nah, he's not doing that.
Yeah.
What about the Wolves?
For fucking
Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh.
And then you just signed Ant, and also you wouldn't trade Ant.
I was gonna say that's a non-starter for me.
But you have Dame and Ant, and then you have Rudy Gobert at center still. The question is, they would probably try to get McDaniels in that too because they're taking on the cap contract, and I think Minnesota would be like, no, we're keeping McDaniels.
Yeah,
No one's trading a good young wing, is what I'm trying to get at here.
The problem is that Minnesota has like no picks, like literally 0 picks. I think they, not literally, but I think they've got 1 pick available or something like that.
And they also weren't interested in trading for Cat when Dame was on the team. So if that's the case, they might just not value Cat. I might be doing a contrarian thing, but me and Chuck talked about it the other day, and I think that the contract makes it really hard to trade for Cat, but the league might be too low on what Cat can do for a team right now. I would say if you don't have championship aspirations.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that. I actually think Cat is better. I think Cat as an asset, even with his contract, is better than any single asset the Miami Heat would be selling you.
Sure.
But I think just the sheer breadth of picks, if they actually are giving you all the picks, even if they're shitty ones, eventually that kind of balances out. And you are getting a almost lottery pick in Jaime Jaquez, whatever you think of that pick. And, you're getting off the Nurk contract. There's just all of that stuff adds up to where I think I prefer the Miami package if they genuinely put everything on the table.
And if you were trying to keep your job, you trade for Cat and he doesn't work out, then you're like, oh shit. Like if you're trying to keep your job and you're Joe Cronin, you're like, I got all these picks and prospects. Like we got a long haul here to rebuild this team. And I just want to say, the Pelicans are the other team that everyone's been throwing out. Keep in mind, the Pelicans, to my knowledge, have never traded for a real star. They're one of those teams that has never traded for a real star. CJ McCollum's the best player they've ever traded for. Mm-hmm. Brandon Ingram, obviously they got in a trade, but that was before he was like who he is now, and that was for Anthony Davis. So they were the ones trading the star in that situation. The one thing I will say about the Pelicans is they have a ton of picks. They need a perimeter operator. If they could find a third, the problem is the CJ contract's going to be hard to get off. Because because you're not going to do the Damon CJ thing again, I assume. So you're going to go, all right, can we dump CJ to a third team? The Sixers would not take him. I have heard from everyone that Daryl Morey is not a CJ McCollum guy. He does not like CJ McCollum. And also, I just don't see that happening. But if there is a third team, I think CJ has 2 years left on his deal, if I remember correctly. He might have 3, which at his age, and he declined last year. So, like, you're starting to get into a territory where you're like, they have enough picks that they can make it work. But, like, now we're talking about, like, the Pelicans have to send CJ to another team and then probably Trey Murphy as the center wing return, unless they'd be willing to trade Zion for Dame.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they would.
I mean, maybe. I'm not like
Dame totally plays games. Like, I mean, look, Zion, I know that you like they love the idea of what Zion could be, but Dame plays games. And if you're Portland, once again, this is just like we talked about with the Scoot Henderson thing. That's the best player that you could possibly get back for Damian Lillard is Zion Williamson. Even if it is a risk that you're taking on an injured player like him who rarely ever plays.
Yeah. That would be like a pretty good return. I just like
it seems like a reach to me. I don't really see a trade.
That's what I'm saying, and that maybe this is why the Miami Heat will end up being the team. I mean, I don't know. Like, I wonder about like the possibility for some sort of 3-team trade with the Bulls of some kind, where like something's going back to the some sort of split is going back to the Bulls and Levine is going somewhere because he doesn't fit on the Blazers, but he's like the other big guy who's like available, so I think
this is why I'll rank it like this as we wrap up our Damian Lillard talk here.
Yeah.
1, I'm going Heat. I think the Heat are pretty certain. 2, I'm going to go Sixers. 3, I'm going to go Celtics just until Jaylen Brown signs his contract. These are the most likely teams in order, I would say. Mm-hmm. And then 4, I'm going to go wild card team, whether it's either New Orleans or Minnesota. One of those 2 teams taking a complete home run swing and just being like, fuck it, Dame's under contract. we want to win right now, and we have the pieces to potentially get it done. So those are my teams in order. I don't see a Clippers trade. I don't think that is something that's realistic. I don't see like a Lakers trade or a Knicks trade. The Knicks also just like, I don't know, their best player is Jalen Brunson. Like, he doesn't fit with Damian Lillard. Like, just keep rolling with that. So yeah.
What would you be willing to give up if you were Orlando?
See, that's the problem, is that Orlando's not going to trade Franz or Paulo.
Probably.
And if that's the case, then you're like, do you like Anthony Black? I'm not high on Anthony Black like a lot of people are. Do you like Jet Howard? Do you like Jalen Suggs? I know Schmitz likes Jalen Suggs a lot, but once again, guard redundancy, unless they think Sharp can play the three. He's a guard. Do you like Wendell Carter Jr.? Like, is this moving anything for you? Because it would be mostly a B-level prospect plus picks. Because I think that they would want to keep Franz and Paulo if they get Dame. But I would love that. I think that they would probably go first. They would probably try to wait for like Donovan Mitchell next summer or something. But yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess my question there is like, because they're the only other team. When I looked around and I like looked at this, they're the only other team I could see kind of like talking themselves into making some kind of move like this. And I was like, I don't know if that, I just don't know how that would work for them. Like, just in terms of like, it would need to be, again, it needs to kind of be a 3-team trade, but I guess that my reasoning there is if you're Orlando, you just got to beat the Heat's offer,
Yeah.
And I would kind of rather have Wendell Carter and some of these other B-level, like, prospects, like, Markelle Fultz and some of these other guys than whatever garbage Miami's sending me. And Orlando's picks are probably better.
Long term, but they have Paulo and Franz, probably not. Like,
well, I mean, they had Paulo and Franz, and they were still the 6th seed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they're going to get better, though, I would imagine.
They will, but like, it's not a given. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, Miami has shown you that they,
are
always good. Like, we are talking about the Orlando Magic at the end of the day, even if they are.
Yeah.
So, that's the only one I could kind of get to where it was like maybe. Because really what I'm looking around for is who's taking Jaylen Brown if the Celtics trade for Damian Lillard.
It would have to be like Atlanta, right?
Yeah, or Houston, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, and
one of the teams where he has a connection. He's from Atlanta. Houston, he has the connection with Udoka.
And I don't think Atlanta has. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the one. Yeah, because like I was gonna say, Atlanta doesn't have the young guys, and we went over like Houston. It like needs to be Jabari and Şengün, and like I think Houston Twitter would stage an insurrection if against Stone if Şengün got traded. So like I don't know, man. Like I mean, maybe I guess while we're talking through it, I mean, maybe it just will be that dog shit Miami Heat package. But I mean, if Tyler Hero ends up going somewhere else in the Damian Lillard trade, that's a massive win for Miami. And that is, that means you failed as Joe Cronin. If you end up taking back, if you end up taking on Tyler Hero or some equivalent contract like Ben Simmons, you got owned. I'm sorry, you got owned. So.
Unless you're getting picks from all around and other prospects that we don't even know about that you could potentially nab, it would definitely be an owning. I agree. I'd rather take the expiring contracts and pick some other prospects. So from the Sixers perspective on this, I'm fine trading Maxey for Damian Lillard. I know it would kill me. I mean, it would kill me just to trade Maxey after all of this. I would be fine with trading him, though, if they're able to return Harden into depth pieces that they can make a real team on the Sixers. Because right now, the Sixers have no forwards except for Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker, and, like, no one is talking about it. Like, I'll say this much, because we have to talk about the Harden thing real quick.
Oh, McDaniels. Did you say McDaniels?
McDaniels is gone. He signed with the Raptors.
Oh, I missed that. Wow.
Yikes. Signed with the Raptors.
Tough.
Classic.
So very Masai. Yeah, I was going to say extremely Masai, but yeah.
Pascal Siakam replacement? ? I know we've banned Raptor Slop from here, but I have heard from people that Pascal Siakam is likely to be traded because he was close with Fred VanVleet, and that when Fred got traded, he wanted out. He was that was the last kind of straw for him. But we'll see. Raptor shit never happened, so might just be bullshit. But the Sixers they lost Niang, they lost McDaniels, who signed a very reasonable 2-year, $9 million contract with the Raptors. And I was like, well, we couldn't match that? What the fuck happened? I don't understand. Which I'm not I don't think McDaniels is great, but they basically just fucking salary dumped Matisse Thybulle, which it all just is making me go fucking insane. Unless they're gearing up to sign Grant Williams to the MLE or something, there's no free agency forwards left. We have to do it via trade. And that's why I think that even though Morey's saying, oh, we're trying to get Harden back and we're trying to, we're going to make the relationship better. All the moves that both the Clippers and the Sixers have made is that they're indicating that they think that a consolidation trade is going to happen at some point. Because if you look at the Clippers haven't made any big moves. They've just brought back guys. They've just brought back Russ and Mason Plumlee.
Yeah.
And then they have the Sixers have only signed Patrick Beverly, which means right now the Sixers have technically without Philip Petrusev and Paul Reed signed, because it's possible they sign those two and fill up 2 roster spots. But they technically have 5 open roster spots right now. And if they have 5 open roster spots, then that means that they could essentially make this trade where the Sixers get the idea we've been talking about. They get Terrence Mann and Nicholas Batum and maybe Robert Covington and whatever, just to make the money. Amir Coffey, whatever, maybe Brandon Boston. I don't know. I'm just throwing guys out there. That could be a 4-for-1 trade that they could make. And in that case, I might be open to moving. If they don't have to send shit to Portland, I might be open to moving Maxey. Not a ton of shit to Portland, I should say. If you can still keep the semblance of a team, you still can hold on to Terrence Mann if Portland doesn't take him, then I would be open to that. But I don't think that a Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid team with no forwards, no wings, no depth is better than a Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Joel Embiid team. I think that the Sixers would be better trying to preserve depth with those 3 than they would be with Dame and Embiid and a lack of way to get real depth.
Well, what if it's Terrence Mann and Maxey going to Portland and then you guys get Simons or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that could be interesting. But Simons, and if you're getting Dame, then Simons and Dame we've already seen doesn't really work defensively. Even if you have Joel Embiid, I think it would get PJ Tucker's so old. I keep trying to tell people this is PJ Tucker's 38, dude. He might even be 30. He's turning 39 next season. Yeah. At a certain point, you need to have some depth at forward. Even if you get old Nicholas Batum and Robert Covington, it's something. And Mann is a wing, so he can play the 2 or the 3. But you need to if you're trading Harden, you either need to go one of 2 ways. You either need to get Damian Lillard and just end all of this and go get Damian Lillard, or you need to kind of keep your depth pieces and maybe try to collect assets that you can trade to then get another guy / open up cap space next summer. Those are the 2 paths you can take. And I'd honestly prefer that they were just more aggressive and just make a bold stand and try to make the Damian Lillard trade. I think that my biggest thing on this is I think that they're worried that what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with Ben Simmons the first time around when they tried to trade him for James Harden and Houston leaked it. And then Ben's brain was broken and the Sixers were like, oh, what do we do? He knows we want to trade him. We have to deny it. And they're trying to avoid that with Maxey until they think it's a realistic shot that they could get Damian Lillard. So once again, either make the all-in move and trade for Dame, or kind of trade Harden for depth pieces and try to keep your chances of flipping Tobias is expiring, along with picks and any prospects you can get back at the deadline for Zach LaVine or for whoever. Because I just don't think that, I don't know how they're going to talk Joel Embiid into this. How do you talk him into like, yeah, we're going to take a full gap year again, basically. Second time in 3 years again. And we're just going to, and like maybe Joel is just like, fuck it, I don't really care. Like, I just want to win MVP. And like,
if he didn't like playing with Harden, then he's probably okay with it, to be honest. Like, because that's the price of not having Harden on the team anymore, and you're not coached by Doc anymore. So that's the weird thing.
He liked Doc though. That's the thing. That's like weird. He was like not happy about Doc getting fired.
That's so strange.
But think about it like this from Joel's perspective. When Doc, look, I'm not trying to. I don't want to give Doc credit for this because I think it was more about Morey building a team that actually made sense around Joel. But like the second Doc got here, Joel was an MVP candidate for 3 straight years. And like, he was like, awesome. I'm playing the best of my career with a guy I get along with. And I get to take a ton of shots and whatever. And I think that Nurse is going to come in and I think it's going to be more of a kind of not egalitarian offense, but it's going to be more of not a heliocentric offense built around Joel Embiid.
Yeah. No, I mean, but that's kind of the way you need to play. Like, you need Joel to be a defender more than a scorer, I think, to maximize at least this iteration of the team, assuming Harden comes back. Even if Harden's not back, you need to put more of that in Maxey's hands and kind of just roll with that and have Joel kind of save his energy for defense, because that's the main thing with Joel is he gets tired. Like, so
we saw it again in the playoffs, and I know he was coming off an injury, but it happened again in Game 5. 4, 6, and 7. When they're not running teams off the court, he's exhausted at the end of these games. And I just want to point out that, like, we talked about the Celtics being a bad passing team. The Sixers, if they lose Harden and they get back this Terrence Mann, Nicholas Batum, their best passer is going to be Patrick Beverly, who's 35 years old. Like, they need to get a real playmaking upgrade as well. So, like, okay, cool. So you need a wing who can stay on the court and a connecting playmaker / high-level playmaker. Like, the things that they need are really hard to find unless you literally just trade for Damian Lillard. Like, what I'm trying to say here is, like, they might have backed themselves into the corner where the Dame trade is the only chance that they can kind of free themselves from this.
I wonder if Daryl is kind of hedging his bets a little bit about the effect of the new CBA and what it's going to do to players, just in terms of who's available at the minimums and who's available on the buyout market come February.
Because, I think you're right, because the John Collins move indicated that teams are going to be giving away pretty good players for nothing, essentially.
Yeah. And I think that teams are going to be, by extension, waiving not as good players, but better players than we're used to are going to be available, like, on the buyout market and, like, at the minimum, which I think teams like Miami and Philly are going to be, like, kind of banking on, like, you can kind of be the ring chaser. LA for sure. Although LA didn't really act like that. They signed a bunch of guys. I feel like they have 17 people on their roster. I don't even know. I guess they didn't bring Mo Bamba back.
Yeah, they just let Mo Bamba walk, I think, and then they just replaced him with
Malik Beasley too. I forgot about that.
And they replaced them with Jackson Hayes and they lost Dennis Schroeder too. Yeah, to Raptors. Yeah. So let's transition to talk about that. But I do agree with you that I think that Daryl looks at this new CBA and says, but once again, I'm talking about this. You can't punt on another half of a season and expect to win a championship. Like, that's just, you can't put a team together at the last second and be like, all right, go win a title, play 20 games together, and then go win a title. Like, it just doesn't work. It does. We just saw it with Phoenix. They added Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But also, like, Kevin Durant is means much more to the structural integrity of what the Suns were going to be than, you will have an identity, like, by that point. And I do think that regular season wins are not necessarily something that the Sixers are hard up for. It's more about Joel being healthy, so
they'll win 50 games if Joel has relative health. So that's the thing with them in the regular season. So let's transition to talk about our favorite signings. and our least favorite signings of the offseason. We could talk about some insane contracts that were handed out. Not many, to be honest.
Yeah.
We could talk about some what we would view from the team perspective as like a good value for a guy. So do you have any kind of like what the fuck signings that you were kind of blown away by that you just want to talk about a little bit?
I mean, the only real one was like Jeremy Grant, like before before the Dame signing, because I get the concept of like maintaining the asset, but I think he just stops being an asset. Like, I think that's going to be a terrible contract. Like, you know, like, and I guess Jeremy Grant has like defeated me in this type of situation once before. I thought the contract Detroit gave him was pretty bad at that time, but he bet on himself and it worked out. So maybe this is a similar thing, but that's the only one I can think of as being like a really like bad contract. I also didn't love $20 million for D'Angelo Russell, to be honest, but you know, that's the only two I can kind of like really think of as being like really bad.
And at least with the D'Angelo Russell one, it was short term enough that like a year from now they could just probably trade it, or a year and a half from now. It's just like, all right, here's some expiring salary, and he can eat minutes during the regular season. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about the Reggie Jackson one because
that's pretty bad too. Yeah,
we talked about it on the stream where I was like, Reggie Jackson got $5 million.
It's like the shades of the Celtics signing Enes Kanter with the player option a couple of years ago. Like that type of because it doesn't seem that bad because like it's $5 million. Who fucking cares? You know, like it's not that much. That's like 2% of the cap or something. But
he's not going to play meaningful minutes. Like
Also, like you just signed Nikola Jokic to like the most expensive contract in the NBA. Like what? Your tax bill, like that's like $30 million in taxes if you're in the repeater. Like,
well, did you see? I saw some Nuggets fans saying, "Oh man, are we going to end up trading Michael Porter Jr. to the Pacers for Bruce Brown and expirings?" Because Bruce signed that balloon contract. And Michael Porter Jr. is probably a contract that eventually if they want to pay Kentavious Caldwell-Pope again, and they want to pay Aaron Gordon again, and they have to extend Jamal Murray, and they're paying Nikola Jokic this massive contract, Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the one that gets traded for less than he's worth, I should say. Like, because of the injury concerns, because of the fact that he got that max contract, like, I could see eventually them moving on from, I'm not even joking, our buddy Dash, who's a Nuggets fan, said he was like, I think at the deadline, I wouldn't be shocked if they trade Michael Porter Jr. for Tobias is expiring and try to get Tobias on a cheaper deal moving forward.
That might be. Would you do that?
I'm so afraid of Michael Porter Jr. It's like, well, it's politics first off, but more importantly, his back I know he had the surgery and he looked better and whatever. And, like, he would be a great fit with the Sixers. I mean, he's exactly what the Sixers need, like a big wing.
That's kind of what I'm thinking is, like, it might be worth I mean, you're fucked if you don't get something like this anyway.
Sure.
It might be worth the risk, to be honest. Like,
look, if Joel's like, hey, I'm asking out, fuck it, who cares? Like that. Yeah. Hey, at least we got a big wing who can shoot and, like, has become a better defender and rebounder and you know, is a bucket and a problem. Like, I do think that it's certainly worth considering, but once again, I'm afraid that his body's just going to fall apart at any given moment, which is why the only reason he would ever be available in the first place. But yeah, the Reggie Jackson, the only thing I could think of from Denver's perspective is they don't have tradable salary. All of their guys are like they lost Jeff Green, who was like a tradable salary. They lost Bruce Brown, who was a tradable salary.
Yeah,
they're not going to trade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope or any of the guys we just mentioned, and all of their other rotation-y guys like Christian Brown and Julian Strawther, who they just drafted, their rookie contracts. They're going to look at those as value deals. Jalen Pickett, those guys.
Peyton Watson,
yeah. So they might look at the Reggie Jackson contract as like, all right, at least we get some salary filler if we need to make some trade at some point. Like, we got $5 million to move at least. And we might be able to get back a rotation player for this in a year from now. Like, that was my only thought in it. But, like, I don't know. These kind of, like, paying money to guys who have proven to be non-factors for you, after you got them is, I don't know, it's just a lot of money. Like he's a minimum guy. Like he should be making a minimum contract.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we didn't get to react to the Fred VanVleet one. We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
The fact that it came out later, there was a team option on the third year of the Fred VanVleet deal, which makes it a little bit easier for me to stomach, but it's still $42 million a year for a guy that just shot under 40% from the field. For his career, he shoots like under 40% from the field. He had one of the worst years of his career, and maybe he bounces back and he plays great, but like, I still think if I were Houston, I would have considered doing like these, going after like throwing offer sheets at RFAs. Like, make it's only 24 hours to match now. So like, throw an offer, make the Lakers pay for Austin Reeves, dude. Make them pay $100 million to keep Austin Reeves if they really want him. Try to go after him. PJ Washington, who's still an RFA, throw a $15 million offer sheet at him. Like, just throw younger guys that like might have a little bit more upside. And I understand like the culture fit and like why they picked him over Harden. And I'm sure Udoka wanted a guy who's going to like be like a good leader and like locker room guy. But like $42 million a year for Fred VanVleet is genuinely insane.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. What's the deal with the third year? It's a team option, a player
option. So there's that part of it at least.
That, that makes, to me, that makes it pretty doable to me, to be honest, because you weren't going to be good in the next 2 years anyway, like when that team option goes with Fred. So if there's someone who wants to get off money somewhere, like if it turns out you don't need Fred or he's bad.
And Amen Thompson's like a star immediately.
Yeah. Like you just move him somewhere and take back, Tobias Harris or something like that for like a team that needs to, or I'm trying to think of guys who have like long money that's like bad, like Yusuf Nurkic or something like that, and get some like contracts back or something like that. Like you can. So I actually don't. The more I learn about the Fred VanVleet contract, it's a pretty staggering number. I actually don't think it's that damaging, like genuinely, for Houston.
The reason why the Jeremy Grant one is a little bit more, even though the money's crazy for 2 years for Fred VanVleet, the reason why the Jeremy Grant one's so staggering is because it's like, it's 5 years long. And
5 years.
And he's 30 years old now. Like,
and he's like, has he ever made an All-Star game? Did he make it? Yeah. That's tough, man. That's really
29 going on 30. He will be 34 going on 35 at the end of this contract.
Like no one's trading, especially in this cap thing, man. Like you have to pick your max guys or guys in that salary range carefully.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant is never going to be something a team is picking. Like I just don't see the value in that. I kind of think that it's not as bad as like the Evan Turner and the Timothy Mozgovs and some of the other stuff.
Because Jeremy Grant's like a really good, valuable player.
Valuable player, but it's more kind of like the Luol Deng contract than anything that he got. Like where it's like, and I know Luol Deng's career was shortened because of his health stuff, but like he was another guy who I think Luol Deng did make an All-Star team.
He made 2, I believe.
Two, yeah. So like, that's the caliber of player we're talking about. And like that contract was really fucking bad. Like when they signed him to it. So
Tobias just dropped is essentially what we're trying to say.
Exactly. So I that's by far the worst contract to me. Cause I just don't think I think Portland is eventually going to have to pay to get off that contract. I think the best case scenario for them is he just plays out his days on Portland in a Tobias style. Like what just happened with Tobias Harris on the Sixers is like the best case scenario for the Blazers. So,
do you think that I don't really buy that they had no idea Dame was going to ask out, and that's why they signed that contract?
No, that's like not. I think that's like reported, confirmed, not true. That Dame requested the trade like a week ago.
Yeah.
So Yeah, they just signed him for whatever reason. It wasn't a lack of info. They just did a bad job.
At that point, why do you even care if you lose Jeremy Grant? Because I guess you're like, all right, if you're looking at my resume of moves as Joe Cronin, that was the best move he's made, was getting Jeremy Grant for a first-round pick.
Yeah. Well, how about just sign and trade him? Like, you get something back, like
Detroit or something.
You could send him to somewhere that, like, a team that like, might want him. Like,
get the pick back you traded for. Actually, they traded that for Jalen Duren, so they actually don't even have it anymore, Detroit. But
get like Rui back from like the Lakers or something. Yeah, I don't know, like. I feel like there was a way to get that, to like turn that into at least something. Like, I just feel like that was by far the move I'd liked the least of free agency. I don't think anything else was particularly close.
So, I mean, it's a lot. The only thing I will say is that they're probably not going to contend in the next 5 years, so it won't hurt them in the same way that the Sixers, who are in the playoffs and like, shit, we can't build on the margins because this Tobias contract just takes up so much on our books. At least Portland's going to be good. Isn't going to be good for like 3 or 4 years. Can
I counter that though? Sure. If Scoot's who you think you are,
yeah,
you get no value out of that rookie contract. Like, all of the money, all of that flexibility is now in Jeremy Grant's contract. Like,
well, unless you can free up space with this Damian Lillard trade.
Yes, but like, you're gonna be paying like a Fred VanVleet. You're gonna be where Houston is, like this offseason. Like, at that point, that it's like, what use is the cap space? Like, I still would not rather. I mean, I know I was just throwing a conniption about Tyler Hero, but like, that actively hurts your development with other guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I just, it doesn't make any sense to me. To be honest. It's bad signing to me.
So this wasn't exactly a signing, but Sabonis' contract is fucking massive, dude. Yeah, and I understand for what they're building in Sacramento. Once again, they just went through 20 years of misery, and they're like, we just want to make it to the playoffs, dude. Like, we don't care about all this, like, oh, you got to win a championship, or you got to contend or whatever. But $42 million a year for the next 5 years for Sabonis. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for a guy who caps your ceiling, is all I'll say. He lifts the floor enough that, like, okay, in the regular season, at least he's proud. With the team that they have now, they're probably going to make the playoffs the next few years, and they might even be a little bit better than that, win a playoff series if they get a nice matchup in the first round. But it's a lot of money for a guy who, he's coming off a career year. He was great. Made third team All-NBA. Deserved certainly a contract extension, but after the way he played in the playoffs, $42 million a year is a lot to commit to that guy, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. We've talked about Sabonis ad nauseum. I mean, if Sabonis couldn't be effective in a Warriors series on the glass,
I don't see a matchup I don't see a matchup where he's good in the West too. Like, oh, what if they play the Thunder? It's like, I don't think he's good.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to be bad on defense. That was built in, but you couldn't rebound against the Warriors That's why they lost that series.
Yeah.
Like, because I was counting on that. And that I was like, oh, and like Sabonis will destroy them on the glass because like he'll give it right back on the other end, but he will be dominant on the glass. And he was absolute dog shit. So yeah, that's a pretty bad contract. I mean, they're kind of stuck with it, you know.
Sure.
That would be something else to just let Sabonis walk, like
they're not going to let Sabonis walk, but he had a year left and like,
I
don't want to do the who were you bidding against thing, but like that was certainly the next level of let's take care of our guy that we, traded for and did, and made us look good this past year is the thing.
It's not all great. Right. One last bad one. One last huge thumbs down to the Charlotte Hornets for putting Miles Bridges back on the team.
Oh yeah, that was a joke.
You're bad.
Yeah,
that's actually the worst move of the offseason.
Yeah. Offering him a qualifying offer instead of just being like goodbye was kind of gross, and I don't want to ever see him play.
Yeah.
So from just like I guess a lot of these are just kind of like okay. Like I thought Dennis Schroeder was an overpay and a panic move by the Raptors.
Yeah.
Masai
worked quickly to address the Fred VanVleet sign.
He responded in great, and also it came out. This is why I love Raptor State media. Because at least with the Sixers, like the writers will call out Morey on his bullshit sometimes here.
Yeah.
Raptor State media was like, "Oh no, he didn't even want Gabe Vincent. Those reports weren't true. He didn't want Gabe Vincent to replace Fred VanVleet, who makes a lot more sense on the Raptors than Dennis Schroeder. No, he wanted to pay Dennis Schroeder that money, actually, after it had nothing to do with the Lakers signing him. No, not at all.
He's chuckling bemusedly. Like the rest of the league is just kind of dancing in the palm of Masai's hand. Just another day in the life of the Lord Varas of the NBA. The spider weaves his web, and we are all just sort of pawns in it. God damn, dude, they're like gonna win like 20 games next year, running it back. It's gonna be awesome.
I think that I can't be Charlie Brown with the football anymore, because I just can't believe these Pascal Siakam rumors until someone legit reports them. And even then, could I believe that he's gonna fucking make a deal? Also, okay, so if they are to run it back, the Jakob Poeltl contract is laughably bad too. And it's not because Jakob Poeltl isn't a good player. Like, he's a fine. I think he's a little overrated by nerds because, like, I don't know, like, he's not like a crazy lob threat or a shooter or anything on offense other than like a guy who will set screens and roll to the basket and get rebounds. And yeah, he's a good rim protector on defense and he's a good drop center, but like, I don't know, like, I'm not paying him $20 million. Like, the reason why you got him was to amplify Fred VanVleet, and Fred VanVleet did that for him as well. But now, if you run it back, you somehow got collectively worse at shooting. And you drafted a shooter in the lottery in Grady Dick. Like, you lost Fred VanVleet and you replaced him with Dennis Schroeder, who's a much worse shooter. And you now you're going to build around Scotty Barnes. And here's the development context you set up for him. A center who cannot shoot and a center who is not switchable, which is something that the Raptors love to do. They love to switch. They have accompanied him with a secondary ball handler in Pascal Siakam, who also is not a good 3-point shooter, who also is not going to space for. You have essentially just created a massive traffic jam in the middle of the court for you. The Grady Dick pick was fine. It was a good pick. And you're never going to trade OG Anunoby, who's a good corner 3-point shooter, but like that's kind of it. And you're setting Scotty Barnes up. Even if you believe in Scotty Barnes like they do, you're setting him up to be a disappointment, I think, with all the pieces you're putting around him.
Yep. No, for sure. New Ben Simmons just dropped. It is like genuinely like, that would scare the shit out of me if I were the Raptors front office, what he looked like last year, like just in terms of the looks he was passing up and the not shooting, like I would be addressing that like now.
He did get better with it throughout the course of the season, but it was certainly not like ideal, I would say.
Yeah. And I mean, like the Jakob Poeltl, like that contract will be tradable. Like you probably won't get anything back, but that's like a neutral. I don't think that's going to be like a negative value contract. $20 million is like, I mean, that's what Vooch got, and I think they're pretty similar tiers of, center, albeit with different skill sets. Vooch is ironically probably more of a developmental center, more of a boon to developing your other guys than
because he's not going to get in the way. At least he'll stand out at the 3-point line and take 7 threes a game or whatever.
Right. Yeah, they've got like opposite strengths, but I don't know. Like just the Raptors. I don't know. Like they're in trouble, man. Like they really should have fire sailed last year. Like, and the moment might have passed them by to sell. Like,
got nothing for Fred VanVleet. You're in a situation where if you don't trade Pascal or OG and they don't want to re-sign next offseason, you could once again lose a bunch of talent for nothing because you're too stubborn in trade negotiations.
You could have had like you could have had a pretty high draft pick. It probably would not have been 3 the way that they got Scoot, but you could have had that pick for Pascal Siakam. And I don't know how much better the Blazers would have been.
All right, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Last year, it was reported that the Blazers offered Josh Hart in the 7th pick in the draft and a future first, I believe, for OG Anunoby. And that pick was Shaedon Sharpe. So you could have Josh Hart, Shaedon Sharpe, and a future first for OG. The leap is coming, dude. Don't laugh at Zach Lowe.
Don't laugh at. He's coming. He's going to be good next year when he's an unrestricted free agent and is pissed because he thinks he's better than he is, and you put him with 2 other guys who play his position in Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes. I don't know. Yeah, Masai might be cooked, sadly.
Yeah. So, and look, dude, shout out to Wolfon from Pound the Rock, who is a Raptors guy and called it perfectly. He said there was a tweet from back in 2021 when they decided not to trade Kyle Lowry at the deadline, and he thought it was a mistake. And he said, look, I think you should have just cashed in the chips, whatever. And he talked about the same thing with OG a few months ago. Talked about the same thing with Fred VanVleet a few months ago. This is your point where you can cash in the chips and really rebuild around this young guy you have in Scotty Barnes, and if you believe in him and whatever. And they decided to go the opposite direction and get Jakob Poeltl. And he basically said 2 years ago, he said, this is why you shouldn't fall in love with front offices. It's something that you say a lot, where if you have a long enough run, you're going to have a hot streak sometimes, and you're going to have look really smart, and then you're going to have cold streaks sometimes. You're going to look really dumb. And it's why you shouldn't, think that that your front office is imperfect. And it's something that the Sixers are realizing with Daryl Morey now, where he's had a lot of nice acquisitions on the margins and done well, but the bigger stuff, he might have kind of missed the mark on that. And that's the stuff that really matters.
Yeah. And that's, I guess just that's my thing is it's I don't think Masai is I guess what I don't understand is Masai is treating this like he's Raphael Stone, and you won a championship 4 years ago. I find it hard to believe ownership would not be with you if you went to them and said, we need to tear this down and we need to build around this guy. He's acting like a guy who's on the hot seat. And even if Masai did get fired before all of this, he could name his salary. What would maybe the Knicks feel pretty comfortable in their leadership thing, and they wouldn't necessarily but do you really think Rob Pelinka is Genie is going to say, oh, we can't fire Rob Pelinka for Masai. That's a bridge too far. He could go to 25 franchises.
Sure.
Or could have 2 years ago. Now I'm a little less sure,
I still think he could get a great job, but the thing is, he got equity in the company and he got ownership piece in his last contract negotiations. So he's he's invested in the success of this franchise, and he's just no, we're not going to make here's our line, and we're never going to make a deal. And honestly, Morey drives me crazy with the same shit, but at least he makes trades sometimes. At least he does moves. Masai's no, we're perfectly fine with what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you give Danny Ainge all the shit you want, because he's probably the closest allegory we have to Masai right now, and just in terms of refusing to trade and being linked in all these trades and being annoying about it. But he at least made trades pretty often.
Trader Danny.
He traded for Kyrie Irving. He made some, he traded up and down in the draft. He would always move fringe piece guys. I don't know. I just, we need to go back to banning Raptors. It's just, they're going to win 33 games this year. 20 is too low. They're going to win 33 games this year trying to win. Not collecting any picks or anything like that.
Sure.
It's going to be a bummer. So,
yeah. Well, not for us.
No.
Luckily, they top 6 protected the pick that they sent to the Spurs, so they'll probably end up keeping the pick.
God, do they still owe that pick?
For Jakob Poeltl.
Oh, my God. That's right, because they drafted Grady Dick. Oh my
They
god.
traded a first-round pick for the opportunity to pay Jakob Poeltl $80 million. You couldn't have worked out a sign-in trade this offseason? Like, I don't know. It just it's the tough. Terrible move. Terrible moves all. By the way, I just want to point out, kind of a cool thing. If you've been in the league for 10 years now, your veteran's minimum contract is over $3 million. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time that has ever happened. Justin Holiday, Patrick Beverly, they all got over $3 million. So good for them. Mm-hmm. Just something that I would point out. So yeah, I'm looking through the rest of this. Okay, so Delano Banton got slightly more than the veterans minimum, I believe. Unless the veterans minimum for everyone is just $2 million now, which it could be possible. I think it is, actually. I think you guys did give him the veterans minimum.
I was gonna say I don't know what exception we'd be using to sign a taxpayer mid-level, maybe, but I don't know. We'd have to sign Jaylen Brown, I think, before. I don't know. I think that's like close. I think there's like work to do. So I think everyone we've signed, I think both O'Shea Brissett and Delano Banton are minimum guys for us. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So one last kind of like, all right, what the fuck happened here? Kind of what did you think of the Cavs moves after you had a few days to think about it? They picked up Max Strus.
Okay.
They picked up Max Strus. They re-signed Karis LeVert to a 2-year, $32 million deal. By the way, I fell to my knees when I heard the Jock Landale contract at first for $432, and then I found out that it was only 1 year guaranteed, and I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever, who cares?
Okay, yeah, that was fair.
I was like, holy shit, 4 years, 32. I was like, pray for Zian, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But they signed George Niang for 3 to 26. So George Niang is making $8.6 million next year. They also signed Max Strus to a 4-year, $63 million deal. So he's making $16 million. And I actually thought what they said on Bill and Russillo was true in that what they tried to do here was essentially just take a bunch of swings at finding the fifth guy that can work in any lineup. So like, okay, you have Strus at the 3 for certain lineups, LeVert at the 3 for certain lineups, Niang if you want to play bigger and like you're maybe against a team where you can get away with that, and Mobley can maybe kind of try to play the threesome. I feel like this is kind of, these are insane overpays for these guys though. Like Max Strus,
Niang is 30 years old.
Yeah, Niang is like 23 as a rookie.
I didn't realize he was that old. That 30, that's quite a bit. I mean, I will say they desperately needed shooting, and say what you will about George Niang. He is a 40% 3-point shooter.
He's one of the best. The thing about George that always drove me insane was that he's not a good rebounder. He can get cooked in space, even by guys that are not like shifty guards. Like I'm talking about, like he can get cooked in space by like bigger dudes. And more importantly, he's an archetype of player that I feel like isn't really valuable as much anymore as it used to be, in that he's like a stretch 4 who doesn't really do much else. Like, doesn't protect the rim, doesn't switch, doesn't do whatever. Like, but then again, in the playoffs, what's that?
The Mikhail Petrus.
Yeah, like
Petrus was actually a pretty good defender, but I don't know. Yeah,
remember the stretch 4 used to be such a popular was Ryan Anderson a stretch 4? I'm trying to think of guys that were like,
exactly, yeah.
Like
that's
like
a better
those,
comp,
yeah, those kind of guys that are like that don't really do much but shoot, but like Niang is one of the best tall. He will put it up from anywhere, and he knows that's why he has a job in the NBA, and that will help the Cavs. I'm skeptical that and maybe a Jared Allen trade happens, and that makes all of this look a little bit better. But I'm kind of like, I'm skeptical that he can play with all of their best players at the same time. Is my whole thing here.
I don't think he will. Yeah. I think it'll be Strus that is the
fifth starter.
Yeah. And then you're pretty small on the wing at that point. Like, you're Donovan Mitchell, who's long but is still pretty short, and you've got Strus. But Strus gives them a develop. He's not going to be as good as he was in Miami. Let's get that out of the way right now. Like, these guys always fall off a cliff, relatively speaking. But He does give them movement shooting, which like how many like true blue movement shooters are there in the NBA that are like good? Like
it's very few. I mean,
there's
like he's one of the best. He's probably one of the 5 best defending movement shooters in the NBA.
Yeah. Like there's like of guys that aren't like all-stars that are sub all-star level, there's like 4 of them in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, and you get one of those guys, you know, now you have at least have like some different looks, which I've like, you know, you do have, you know, you've got your Niang, who's like kind of the traditional corner spacer. You know, you've got Karis LeVert, who gives you a little more shake and bake as like a traditional 6-man, you know, like I think that's all fine. You know, any problems I have with the Cavs team construction more comes down to like, what are Jared Allen and Evan Mobley? How is that going to work? Because you know, and I think that is
as we saw in the playoffs. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's all about like, is Evan Mobley going to be able to shoot? Like, basically, is what that comes down to. And,
sure.
You know, I don't know. So I honestly think it was fine. To be honest, I didn't really hate any of that. I mean, I think that was like, I don't think they gave up much, really.
Yeah.
You know, like
I mean, they did. They honestly, they did. They gave up basically Shetty Osman, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which I know, RIP to your era of Osman in.
Those 2 guys are better than Shetty Osman. I will say that, but I do think Shetty Osman is better than like Isaac Okoro and whatever else.
As someone points out.
Or no,
Okoro's still on the Caps. He's still on the Caps.
They didn't trade him.
They didn't have to trade him. It was Steven. So they sent Shetty and Lamar Stevens to the Spurs to make the money work.
Okay.
And then some seconds to Miami. So,
okay.
I mean, it's a fine flyer, but $16 million is a lot for Max Strus. And then if you combine that with George Niang, that's like $24 million between those two. It's a lot of money. That's all I'm saying. A lot of money committed to 2 guys that I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But they needed to take some shots with shooters, like you said. So I guess that's the thought process here. And I just think Strus is kind of an overrated shooter. His numbers aren't really he puts up enough that and that's the thing with the Miami shooters is that they find guys that have such quick releases that can shoot off movement that are hard to guard, that they put up enough that if they get hot, the team looks unbeatable. But like on the whole, their averages are like around average. They're dynamic shooters. They're not like really knock down like the best in the league type guys.
Yeah. I mean, look, 37% on 6 a game with movement. That's pretty good, you know. He is, you know. I think people think he's like a 43% or 42% 3-point.
They think he's Duncan Robinson, and he's
right.
Not. Yeah,
he's not, you know. But he's still like, you know, and he, you know, he's the one who kind of cost them the most this playoffs. He's the one who had the roughest time, I think, in this playoffs of all of those Miami guys. But I still think it's a pretty good, you know, signing for the Cavs for a team that needed shooting and especially movement shooting in that bad of a way. I think that's very important for them. And I do think he's going to have a much easier time shooting in Cleveland than he did in Miami.
Yeah.
He's much lower on the scouting report in Cleveland than he is in Miami. He was like probably their number 3 or 4 guy that other teams were scouting for Miami.
Sure.
So
I still think we get a Jared Allen trade sometime in the next week or 2 is my guess. I think that they're going to try. I think that they're going to either try to find a big who can space the floor, or they're going to try to force Mobley to play the 5 and then just get more size around him at other positions. But we'll see. Okay. So any signings that you particularly liked that you were like?
A lot of the Phoenix ones, just as like a shorthand.
Those were all good. For the little amount of resources they had, they got a crack. They got cracks at getting 4 or 5 rotation players. They signed Yuta Watanabe. They signed Keita Bates-Diop. They signed Eric Gordon. Yeah.
Yuta in particular. I'm like, God damn, man!
How did he go for the minimum?
Yeah,
he's got to be a taxpayer mid-level guy, right? Like $5 million for.
That's what I would. That's what I would have thought. I would have given Yuta that on the Celtics. Like, what was Yuta like? Maybe his shooting's not as good as I think, but in my mind, he's like a 39%.
With Kevin Durant last year, he shot like 50%. He was insane when he was getting wide open looks. And maybe he was just, but like he's going to have that same
He's
opportunity
a
there.
career 39% 3-point shooter on 1.8 attempts, so it's like not that much, but like still, he's been in the league for 5 years and he has 39%. Like that's a sample size. Like at that point, like that's not nothing. Like, so and with Kevin Durant, like he was really good, and he's going to be with. I just don't know. I don't know about the Suns. I was so alarmed by how bad they looked against Denver that maybe I like sold my stock too much in them because I was kind of, and like I didn't love the Brad Beal thing necessarily, but like I don't know. I'm gonna be they're one of the teams I'm gonna be most interested in next year, like for the full season. Like I really want to see what they look like. And they did a really good job getting guys who can like play minutes, especially for a team that has all of these guys with injury histories. I say all of these guys, they've just been Kevin Durant and Brad Beal, but
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think that they maximized with having the least of any team. They maximized the most. They got 4 or 5 guys. They brought back Damian Lee. They picked up Drew Eubanks, Eric. Like they just got guys that are like have a chance at being rotation players. And the hard part is already done for them. They have their top 3 guys locked in. They need to hope DeAndre Ayton can have a little bit of a bounce back, and then the rest of it is just like, can we find same issue they had last year? Can we find our 5 through 8? And I think they have a better chance of doing that this year than they did last year. Of getting guys who can stay on the court with simplified roles that can just make open shots, keep the ball moving, defend, like do everything that they need. Honestly, on that end. Okay, so a signing that I really liked actually. There were a few that like kind of stood out to me that were like, that's nice. Malik Beasley for the minimum is just like, he's not going to play in the playoffs for the Bucks. Let me get that out of the way. But for a regular season signing, to get him on the veterans minimum, and for a team that needs to get younger, I was
just going to say, he's going to be their youngest player at age 28 or whatever he is.
Also, the reason I really like this signing for the Bucks is like, first off, he made the most threes in the NBA off the bench last year. He will put up a ton of threes. His defense he's going to struggle, but like they have the infrastructure to keep it so that he can stay on the court at least. He'll be the 5th worst defender, or he'll be the worst defender, the 5th guy, but they can at least make him hang on the court. He can shoot off movement. He can shoot off the dribble. He's a really dynamic shooter. He should this is a move that I was shocked that Daryl Morey did not try to give him a little bit more money, because I was like, he's a wing shooter who like, everyone has wanted us to trade for Buddy Hield for years, but Morey usually finds shooting on the margins. This is a shooting on the margin signing that like he'll probably return $8 to $10 million value for the Bucks in the regular season. And more importantly, they can trade Grayson Allen now. Yeah. Like you could trade Grayson Allen's $10 million and not lose a ton of like Malik Beasley. I mean, you're not going to want to depend on him for the playoffs next year, but like he could be in the Grayson Allen role where he's the 5th starter for them sometimes. Like that's how good of a shooter he is. So like, I really like that signing for the Bucks, and I was really pissed and sad that Nihilist Bucks got to be happy. So, God damn you.
Yeah, I know. I by and large, not that I necessarily liked them, but the Bucks. How will the old Milwaukee Bucks wriggle out of this jam? They did. They did pretty well for themselves with the Middleton contract and the Lopez contracts. Were not.
The Middleton contract was I know Bill was like not. He's like, I don't really. I'm like, he's making $30 million, and like, say what you will about Chris Middleton, maybe he's just too old and injured to like really ever make that much. But like, you don't have other options, and like he's played like a $40 million a year player before, so like. If he can recapture some of that, like it's a totally fine contract at 34.
Yeah, I mean that was the agent and Chris doing the team a solid, because like he had them over a barrel. He could have extracted a lot more money from the Bucks, and
he could have got $40 million a year from the Rockets probably if he really wanted to. Like, he could have got the Fred VanVleet contract basically.
Yeah, they did pretty well. We also forgot to mention Metu when we were talking about good Sun signings earlier.
Yeah, so. Another Parm guy, dude. Just fucking James Jones and Summer of Parm, baby. James Jones and Brad Stevens, just direct lines to Parm. They got him on speed dial.
Exactly. I think, it sounds like I'm sucking up to Kevin, but I actually did kind of like the Javon Carter deal for the Bulls.
Torrey Craig for the veterans minimum too is good.
Yeah, those are. I think I like both of those signings. I think those were really good. I mean, Tyrese. Do I even need to say Tyrese Halliburton? I thought that was like, he was like he was the easiest max I think on the board for anyone.
Other than Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, okay, I guess that's
those
fair.
two.
Yeah. So that's a fair one. And then there was one more that I was kind of scrolling through the ticker.
What did you think about the Desmond Bane contract?
He was getting that money, so now he's just not as valuable, but like, hey, I mean, he's been your second best player for a while now.
The second or third, yeah.
Well, Jaren Jackson Jr. is your best player, and then
Marcus Smart is going to be
Marcus Smart. I'm telling you, I'm all the jawless Grizzlies fan. I'm telling you, mark me down right now. 19-6.
I was going to say 20-5 to start the year.
19-6 when Ja comes back. But I don't know. I just think I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I thought that was like just a pretty sure. Yeah. That's how I felt about a lot of this stuff, to be honest. Like,
the Austin Reeves one though, like no team throwing a bag at Austin Reeves, and he got the third-year option so he can opt out in 2 years. But the thing about the
Lakers sadly did pretty well too.
Okay, but Austin, I just want to put this out there.
Yeah,
it was kind of a gift and a curse for them because the Austin Reeves contract being so cheap made them be able to spend money elsewhere on like D'Angelo Russell, who like. Yeah. And then I think the Rui Hachimura contract is a crazy overpay.
You know what? I actually didn't see the Rui contract, so because I was thinking about Gabe Vincent, which I really liked for them. Yeah,
he got 3 for $51. He got $17 million a year.
Like, yeah, that's tough.
He had half a season where he was good, and he really shot the shit out of the ball in the playoffs. Like, he hasn't proven enough in his career that he's worth that much money. But the Austin Reeves contract being so cheap made it so that they could sign Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura and maybe have some, not great value contracts, I guess, on the books.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. I mean, you think about like Herb Jones getting like what, $13 million a year or whatever that was.
So he got 14. Yeah. 4 year 14. Yeah. So he got more than Austin Reeves.
He got more than Austin Reeves, but less than Rui Hachimura.
Yes. Got a lot less than Rui Hachimura.
Yeah. So like, that, I kind of like that, to be honest, even though they have Trey Murphy, like, I feel like that's going to be, teams are going to want that. 14 million, like the mid-level exception for a player like Herb Jones.
Starting wing. Yeah.
That's valuable. They're going to turn that into, he's either going to be like a semi centerpiece of another star trade, or they're going to flip him for like 2 or 3 firsts, like one good first and 2 bad ones, or like 2 firsts and some bad picks. Like I liked that little bit of business too. I also kind of liked Kenny Martin Jr. to the Clippers, to be honest.
I like that for the Clippers because I think that they need a Terrence Mann replacement once he's traded to the Sixers. No, I do think that was at least part of the calculus. They wanted to get younger. They wanted to get more athletic.
I think he's good.
He's good.
I think Kenny Martin Jr. is good. Yeah. So
he's not a shooter, but he could pretty much do everything else. Really good athlete.
Yeah. He always popped out to me whenever we'd play the Rockets. I was like, hey, he's like a player. Like he and who's their other good young guy? I'm forgetting his name.
Tari?
Not Tari. It was like another undrafted nameless guy.
Tate? Jay-Sean?
Yeah, Jay-Sean Tate was like the other guy.
Udoka really likes apparently and wants to keep. So that's as like an energy guy off the bench.
But those were the only 2 guys who were acting like professional basketball players whenever we played the Rockets. So like I think that's a good pickup for the Clippers. So
yeah. Okay, so just a very quick few I want to run down here. I think Seth Curry is a good gamble for the Mavs on the biannual exception. Did you hear about the other moves they want to make?
The Mavs? No.
They're going to try to trade. Tim Cato said their plan right now is to try to dump Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Spurs and then take back into that, do a sign and trade for Grant Williams from you guys and send back something. You guys get a trade exception and you send something back. And then they're going to try to keep their MLE to throw an offer sheet at Matisse Thybulle. I actually kind of like that.
I was going to say, given what their options are, I mean, what are they sending to the Spurs, though?
That's what we're going to have to find out. Are they sending a first-round pick? Or are they sending a first-round pick in any of this? Because if they are, then I'm like, but like, if you can get Grant and Thibault, and then you also got Seth for $4 million a year, a guy that you know is at least going to come in and make shots off the bench, like,
now, Grant would be great for them. Small ball five, like not great, but like Grant's a 16-game player too. Like I really believe that. Like in terms of like, I don't care that Grant is like, say the same thing about Marcus Smart. I don't care that these guys they're the opposite of Malcolm Brogdon, who like is great in the regular season, will win 6th man of the year, but is like providing ultimately useless value in the playoffs. Like you can tell who the guys who are actually adding something in the playoffs. And I think Grant is one of those players. So I like that for Dallas, if they were able to like actually pull that off. But
if I were you guys, I know that he struggled and had like some down, but I would just match that. Like, I know that they don't want to spend a ton of money, but like that's such a movable contract if he's making $12 million a year.
Well, I mean, maybe the thing is maybe Grant doesn't want to sign, because the thing is with a sign and trade, it's not like the Celtics can be like, gotcha, like it's one transaction. So
yeah, but they do have the matching rights if they did an RFA thing, like if they threw an offer sheet at them.
Oh yeah, I mean but then their trade exception wouldn't do them any good.
True. You get another TPE, dude. You get a TPE to cook with. $12 million TPE?
I mean, it is the size of the mid-level exception,
And you could possibly try to send out, because the Tim Hardaway Jr. contract is big enough, you might be able to send out Peyton Pritchard and get a bigger one.
That's interesting. Because they could just use those guys. I mean,
are there any free agent guards left that you guys could sign if you lost Peyton Pritchard? Because you'll still need, like, Delano Band's a guard, but like you need like a Buckety type guard, I think, for the end of the bench.
I mean, I think it's just letting Malcolm Brogdon cook the way Joe Mazzulla envisions.
Loves to, yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I don't really see a ton of, because once Malik Beasley was signed, I think he was the last kind of like bucket gettery shooter bench guy that you could possibly get.
I think the plan is just to play Sam Hauser more and like, kind of do some of that stuff. I mean, I don't think they're like itching to get off Peyton Pritchard, but like if somebody like is interested in him. By the way, congratulations to Peyton Pritchard, who just got engaged the other day and then immediately got in a bar fight.
Let's go, the Boston experience.
Yeah, everyone, all the Celtics fans in my feed were saying that like this is a guaranteed like. I forget. I want to credit whoever had this tweet. Very good. Look it up, whatever it is. But they said. Somebody said because he got engaged, the geotag on the Instagram post was Cape Cod. And somebody put a tweet like, Peyton Pritchard got engaged on Cape Cod. They said a likely place for him to be. So if you're whoever posted that tweet, very funny. I'd say Ayo Dosunmu, as Cody says, that's like, I've always liked Ayo, but
he's an RFA though, so they can match on him too. Is the one thing. Honestly, I think the guy who's been attached to you that fits this mold is Terrence Davis, but I know Terrence Davis has also been on the Sixers, but he also has DV stuff, so I don't really fuck with him, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't want him on the Sixers.
I wouldn't want that. I mean, I don't know.
I'd be very disappointed if we got rid of Jalen McDaniels, who also had his own little accusations or something a few years ago, and then we turned around and signed another guy who has a DV case. Like, that would be not great.
Didn't they trade Monty Morris, or am I maybe making that up?
They traded him. Yeah, he traded it. They dumped him to the Pistons for a 2nd-round pick. I was like, that's all it costs? But they wanted to create a trade exception.
That's who I wanted. Like, maybe they weren't waiting around. That was who I had my eye on, was like Monty Morris or DeLon Wright. So I don't know.
You guys probably still end up with Tyus Jones at some point.
Maybe that is the plan, is to just,
maybe it's even at the trade deadline or something. Like, you'll see if Banton. Okay, so last bit of like contract that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I don't want to give Jalen McDaniels any credit because of his whatever, but the Raptors getting him for $9 million as a flyer potential wing is a good deal. Like, it is.
Yeah, they're only good move.
Yeah, it's a good, even though it compacts some of their issues. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about that's happened so far, Delano Band Banton signing, I think, is a good flyer. I think that for what the Celtics need, ball handler who can pass is going to do better with better spacing. I think as a guy who might have some upside, like might be a good backup point guard. Delano Banton is a good pickup.
He's big, you know.
Yeah,
that's the other important part is, you know, I love So our Celtics chat was talking. Brad is a size queen. Like he has a type. So
positional advantages.
Yeah. So shout out to Wolf and Brian for that one.
That's extremely
Sean.
funny.
I can't remember one of the guys in my group chat. I'm sorry if we're not crediting you appropriately, but that made me laugh. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think that was a perfectly fine signing. Again, I think this just goes to show that, like, you know, there were really only, I think, like one or two like egregiously bad signings, you know, and I think there were not that many ones that were like, oh, that's awesome. You know, like I just felt pretty blah about a lot of the stuff that's happened here so far. All the stuff that happened before the draft was more exciting than a lot of this, to be honest. So,
and I think we're going to get one more wave in the next week or two. I think we're either going to get the Dame trade that's going to open up some stuff. I think it's possible, if I had to guess, the four new names that are on the move are Dame, Harden, and then if I'm going longer shots,
Jared
Allen, and maybe Paul George or Pascal Siakam. Maybe.
The Pascal Siakam with the football.
Yeah. Maybe! It might happen! Those are the guys I would say. DeLon Wright is a Sixer, unfortunately. So the Celtics will not be able to acquire him. He has already agreed to terms. He doesn't know it yet. The Sixers don't know it yet. The Wizards don't know it yet. But we will be sending Marcus Morris along with some second-round picks to the Wizards, and we will be acquiring DeLon Wright. I have decided. So
yeah, let's go.
Congratulations, DeLon Wright. You are a Sixer. All right. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
So you guys might have noticed, so we have a new Twitter Blue user. That's right. Trilla is a Twitter Blue user. So, you know, you might notice him with some, you know, mandated things for Twitter Blue where, you know, he's got to kind of, you know, ask about, what's really in the vaccines. That's just part of it for him, of his new, Twitter Blue experience. So just get that out of the way.
I also just want to say I was drunk when I did this the other night, and people in the Discord can back me up, because I was like, all right, so I could read 6,000 posts if I sign up for Twitter Blue, because my Twitter was broken. And I was like, oh, I could read, and then I was drunk and signed up for it, and then I was like, oh no, he was lying. He was lying about all this. And then I immediately canceled Twitter Blue, and it still gave me the blue check mark.
Yeah,
so
you're
everyone can
branded.
make fun of me.
You still got the
the
blue badge of cowardice.
Yeah, exactly. I got people fucking very mad at me over this, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do. I got to read my posts during slop season.
Yeah, you guys just aren't real slop addicts like the real guys over here.
I was like, okay, I don't give a shit. Give me some fucking slop.
I'm downloading bizarre third-party extensions that supposedly boost my thing. Just like
let's go.
Scratching my neck.
Where
are those posts? Where are the posts?
Give me the slop. And also the last person I forgot that I would say is somewhat likely to be traded in the next few weeks is Zach LaVine, who I think will be the consolation prize for the teams that don't get Damian Lillard or James Harden if he is traded. So
yes.
Absolutely. So Zach LaVine, also a Sixer. Soon. Talk soon. All right.
Talk soon.
Peace.
Peace.